This lesson video will guide you through the steps of writing your body paragraphs for your literary analysis essay for English 1. So far, you have gathered the information you need for your body paragraphs. You did this in step 2 by developing your character charts. You've created your thesis statement. You've written your introductory paragraph. It's now time to write the 2 body paragraphs for your essay. You already have the evidence you need. You now need to build the rest of your paragraphs, adding topic sentences, transitions, and closing sentences. The structure of your first body paragraph is not unlike any paragraph you've ever written. You need a topic sentence. Your first body paragraph needs a topic sentence based on the first support idea in your thesis statement. You will introduce your first example in support from the story. This will be a quote or a paraphrase, and you'll provide the in-text citation. You will write commentary or analysis, your own words of interpreting this first example in support. You will provide a transition and introduction to the second example, which would be a quote and paraphrase as well with an in-text citation. You'll provide your commentary and analysis of this second example, and you will have a closing sentence, a summary sentence that does connect back to that support number 1 in the thesis statement. Here's the thesis statement you worked with in the lesson video about thesis statements. This thesis statement should not be unfamiliar to you. If it is, you need to go back and view that video in the step for the thesis statement. The character of General Zaroff in Richard Connell's story, The Most Dangerous Game, is a fascinating character because of his contradictory traits of being a charming host and gentleman on the one hand and a ruthless and brutal killer on the other hand. You need to have an example of the first character trait, the charming host and gentleman. Actually, you need 2 examples. Here's the first example. This should not be unfamiliar to you. When Rainsford swims to safety and arrives at General Zaroff's mansion, the general comments, "Come, we shouldn't be chatting here. We can talk later. Now you want clothes, food, rest. You shall have them. This is a most restful spot." Commentary by the writer. Clearly, General Zaroff seems to be the perfect gentleman and perfect host. He seems concerned for the welfare of his unexpected guest and wants to do everything he can to make his guest comfortable. We're moving on to the second example for the first character trait, charming host and gentleman. Here's the second example. It's a paraphrase. House is beautiful and richly furnished. There's this in-text citation. Here's the writer's commentary. This beautiful and lavishly furnished house reflects the expensive taste of its owner. Only the best seems good enough for General Zaroff. Here is the entirety of the body paragraph, the first body paragraph. And you can see this as well in the resource book for this step in your course. It would be helpful to have both of these open at the same time. Notice there's a topic sentence. General Zaroff, Rainsford's host on the Forsaken Island, appears to be charming and gentlemanly. For example, that's a transition word. When Rainsford swims to safety and arrives at General Zaroff's mansion, the general comments, "Come, we shouldn't be chatting here. We can talk later. Now you want clothes, food, rest. You shall have them. This is a most restful spot." In-text citation. Clearly, General Zaroff seems to be the perfect gentleman and the perfect host. He seems concerned for the welfare of his unexpected guest and wants to do everything he can to make his guest comfortable. The writer provided 2 sentences of commentary there. Furthermore, transition word, General Zaroff's house is beautifully and has richly furnished rooms, such as Rainsford's guest room and the dining room. In-text citation. This beautiful and lavishly furnished house reflects the expensive taste of its owner. Not only the best seems good enough for General Zaroff. Writer's commentary and analysis. Without a doubt, General Zaroff is a person who demonstrates good manners and always knows how to behave like a gentleman. Closing sentences refers back to this first support in the thesis statement and ties up the paragraph. Second body paragraph has the same structure. Topic sentence, introduction of the first example and support, commentary by the writer, transition and second example, commentary by the writer, and the closing sentence that refers back to the second support in the thesis. And in this case, it's that he's a ruthless and brutal killer. Here's the thesis again. We're supporting he's a ruthless and brutal killer. We need two examples. Here's the first example. It's a paraphrase, but it uses some quoted text out of the story. So you'll see three different in-text citations because we have a mixture of paraphrase and quotes. Not only heads of lions, tigers, elephants, moose, and bears are mounted on General Zaroff's wall, but also the heads of men. He invites Rainsford to look at his new collection of heads. Commentary. The idea that General Zaroff hunts and kills men for sheer pleasure and then decorates his walls with their heads is horrifying and shows his utter brutality. He has no conscience, believing that he is better than everyone else and others exist only for his enjoyment and thrill. On to example number 2, that he's ruthless and brutal killer. Example number 2. When Rainsford will not join General Zaroff in the hunt for men, Rainsford becomes the hunted. This is a paraphrase. The commentary for this paraphrase, it is an even greater thrill for General Zaroff when he can hunt Rainsford, the world-famous hunter. He is excited to have such a formidable opponent who might be worthy of the general's skills. Here's the body paragraph all together. And you'll notice as I read this, there's a little bit more verbiage because the writer has gone in and added some words that help explain. On the other hand, here's the transition. General Zaroff soon reveals himself as being a barbaric, savage person who will stop at nothing in order to entertain himself. That's the topic sentence. Zaroff has become tired of hunting all the great beasts in the world. His trophy heads of lions, tigers, and elephants that adorn his walls bore him. That's a cited paraphrase. He tells Rainsford, hunting tigers ceased to interest me years ago. I exhausted their possibilities, you see. No thrill left in tigers, no real danger. I live for danger, Mr. Rainsford. That's a cited quote. This characteristic is not very gentlemanly-like and seems contradictory to the civilized host introduced at the beginning of the story. That's a commentary. It becomes even more shocking when General Zaroff reveals to Rainsford that he has found the perfect animal to hunt, one that can reason. At this point, Rainsford realized that the general is hunting men. That's a paraphrase. When Rainsford will not join General Zaroff in the hunt for men, Rainsford becomes the hunted. It's a cited paraphrase. It is an even greater thrill for General Zaroff when he can hunt Rainsford, the world-famous hunter. He is excited to have such a formidable opponent who might be worthy of the general's skills. General Zaroff has turned out to be a ruthless killer who has no conscience. Again, the closing sentence that sums up the paragraph and refers back to the second support in the thesis statement. So your assignment for this step, you are going to write your 2 body paragraphs. Use the character chart and introductory paragraph that you developed. Use the model body paragraphs samples in the course or in this presentation to help you set up the structure of your body paragraph. The complete instructions for this are in the step in the assignment that you can read and understand more completely.